5:31. Let's go ahead and take a roll call.
Jim Zarsky.
Here.
John Hackman.
Here.
Miles Hoffman.
Here.
Lisa Barnes. Here. Michelle Vazaric.
Here.
And Patrick is maybe off with his new niece or nephew
Yes,
tonight.
you're right, yeah.
Great.
Okay, awesome. I guess, did everybody get a chance to look at the agenda, and do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
So
Comments, I guess, before we have the motion.
Looked like a pretty full agenda.
Yeah, yeah, apologies on when I emailed out there today, I realized the text was in a different color, so you had to squint to see it on the email, but, it looked good when I hit send. All right, do we have a motion? I guess no comments. Okay, Miles first, second. John, all in favor? Aye. Michelle, you good
Aye.
with the agenda?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, no nays, all right, we'll stick with the agenda as written. Okay, let's move on to public comment. Is there anybody, that you see up there?
Let's see. Nope, there was no one online.
No, I had some emails about a phone call, but I couldn't open the phone.
Yeah, we've all been, I know it's kind of spammy, but kind of some voicemail, ACES emails.
I read, was it spam?
I didn't see that one.
Oh, you didn't get it?
I didn't either.
It's coming across like a voicemail message via email.
It might be spam and it might be something that I just blocked
You go.
before because I haven't been getting those, but there shouldn't be any ACES voicemails.
Okay, all right.
So I wouldn't click on the attachment.
I will delete.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Yes.
hit
Thank you.
someone really wants to talk to us, they can show up here or send an email. Okay,
I
cool.
want to see if Amy wants to say that. I know you kind of met everyone, but if you
Yeah,
would
yeah,
introduce
yeah.
yourself as part of public comment.
yeah, no, it'd be a pleasure. And what's the structure for public comment? I actually have to.
You got
state
5
my
minutes.
address. Okay.
Yeah.
You're on the clock, I'm holding you to it.
All right, all
It's
right.
more
Give
important
us a
than
Google
council
map
Great.
to your house in case we don't like it. I'm just kidding.
Hey, Michelle, so where is the camera?
It's the owl.
Back down, okay.
Yeah.
So my name is Aditya Banerjee, or AB. I moved to Superior in September. My wife and I purchased a home out in Rock Creek. My background is pretty varied and diverse, but I'm mostly a product of the Washington DC area. Largely my career has been in international development. So in the early part of my career, I was working kind of doing project management for USAID funded projects abroad. And then, I ended up joining the Peace Corps, where I worked in like climate resilient agriculture in Senegal, which is where I met my wife. And then, I went to grad school, focusing on clean energy, climate, finance, and policy. And then I joined Deloitte, where I worked on USAID funded projects internationally. I was based in Nepal for 2 years, where I was leading an energy project. We were providing basically full sector support, looking at policy, looking at how do you basically transform the enabling environment to encourage both private sector funding, but then how do you also advance clean energy and sustainability objectives? Having been a consultant, I've also worked on projects like Solar for All, helping stand up a program office with the state of Virginia. I've worked on e-mobility and helping, transition public fleets, as well as trying to encourage EV adoption, looked at circular economy. A big part of what I did at Deloitte was in climate finance, which was really looking at how do you blend public sources of capital with private and philanthropic in order to both de-risk and basically bring in more funding because money is limited. But how do you really make those public dollars amplified and really generate impact? So at the core of a lot of my work in the past has been about community and very people-centric, outcome-centric, looking at how do you develop inclusive programs that really hit sustainability objectives, whether, as I said, it's e-mobility, clean energy, finance, or what have you. And I'm sincerely appreciative of this time. It's great to meet all of you. We've been loving our time in Superior, but one of the goals that we had when we came out here was trying to figure out how do we have an impact on the place that we live. So looking forward to hopefully joining the advisory council and putting my money where my mouth is. So, pleasure to meet all of you and you too, Michelle.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Yeah, pleasure to meet you too, AB. Thanks for coming and thanks for the introduction. Have you applied yet to be on?
I have.
Okay, so then when are you when you go on the hot seat in front of Jen?
I'm happy you're here.
Happy
You
to be
sat
here.
for a whole council meeting.
I did.
I mean.
Oh, I was like,
automatic.
You're good, you're good. I'm glad you're having a glad you came.
Yeah, you know, I was the ones in DC, but you know, more than happy to sit through it and see how, like, you know, some of the sauce gets made. But I'll be going on the hot seat on March 9th.
Awesome. Yeah, they're usually pretty nice.
Are you getting interviewed?
Usually, they're not too mean.
Always. We're very nice.
Well, we appreciate your interest in ACES.
I'm sure you're gonna be on.
I'm sure things will
I
work
shouldn't
out.
say that.
I won't make any promises, but I'm sure they'll work out. So thank you for being here.
Pleasure.
And if you have any questions along the way, we got a pretty tight agenda, but we'll try to answer them if we can.
What is traditionally the sort of capacity of like a member of the public versus like how the flow usually goes, like?
Yeah, good question. So yeah, at the beginning, well, as you just heard, we did roll call, we approved the agenda, then we always have a placeholder for public comment, but I would say on average, maybe once every 3 months, like maybe one person shows up, you know, like that's a maybe, it might be once every 6 months, so, yeah, but more often than not, we don't have anybody up for public comment, so that's just kind of how it goes, so.
But sometimes we have students come in
Okay,
and do participate as part of their programs, and
cool.
that's been really fun.
Yeah, very cool. I used to also be a teacher, in Vietnam.
You know a lot of that.
I know, I've had a very colorful
Yeah,
life.
you ever pretty good answer.
There's a teacher at the Monarch High School here, named Mr. McCoy, who teaches government, and he requires the students to come to meetings, and they kind of can pick like what meetings they want to do. Some come to council, some if they're into sustainability. Come there, so there'll be like 6 kids just dying to look at their phones, and they sit in the meeting. Trying so hard to get through, so it's a lot of fun, and you know, like when they show up, we're like, oh, there's some random students, so.
Cool.
So that's fun.
All right, Jen, you can keep on going. We're on council liaison updates. That's on the top of your mind.
I was hoping on RAC that I would have these like just unbelievable things to share. It's been a lot of, we approved the plan, oh my God, I can't remember now, 3-year, 5-year plan. But that happened like back in October, November timeframe. This last couple months on RAC has just been admin, staff reviews, like all things that are not exciting to anything that I have to report. So, a little disappointed about that, but we're done with it now. Like we're fine. We're done with all of it. And the next meeting should be like kind of back to some of the more business as usual and how things are gonna look, especially most of the money for RAC comes from, private donors. Cause I was concerned about what's gonna happen. The Regional Air Quality Council is and they assured me that they're not expecting any impacts from state budgeting or federal, funding. So, I was glad to hear that as well. So, I'll just keep you updated, if anything else exciting is coming out of there. But I think we'll start to get into the like initiatives that they want to roll out. It was really like deciding what those were gonna, like what lanes those were gonna be before. And now it's time to start going like, okay, what sticks and what can we actually, you know, bring to communities? Well, I don't think I have anything. I think that's it.
Yeah. So I guess, John stuff.
All right, well, council adjacent, the ACES council dinner is officially scheduled, so that's gonna be June 22nd. So mark the calendars for that, and that will be good timing, because that'll be right before budget. So it's always kind of a good time slot to advocate for things ACES is interested in. And typically those are 6 to 7, but we'll confirm as we get a little bit closer, just to make sure that there's nothing else that will impact that in any way. We talked a little bit about name tags, so it sounds like, Lisa, you need a new name tag, but does everyone else have a name tag?
Yeah.
Okay, John, do you have one? Okay. Well, we're doing another round of ordering, as Michaela kind of said, so just checking in with everybody. And then new ACES members, AD is a great segue into that as well. So he is our one prospective member that we have so far. There, you know, recruitment has been kind of difficult across a lot of committees. ACES is not the only committee that is down a number of people right now. And it sounds like council is actually looking at potentially an amended ordinance to remove term limits, which would be great because then we wouldn't be losing our chair in June, losing another person.
It's
Or
like,
they not?
no, we're not grandfathering into that.
I'd love to stick around.
I can.
You guys allow me.
So that is great that
I
it
think you
sounds
have a
like
good chance.
that's being considered. We are hiring for a new position that y'all may have seen. So, with our Dr. Cog grant funding, we are hiring, for a building and code analyst. That closed today. And we are still working with Dr. Cog on our, contract agreement. So we're hoping to get someone on board by the beginning of April, but that has been a long process. We applied in October and it is still ongoing with the way that grant has gone. But we're really excited to have them on board because they will help us with our code adoptions, particularly related to energy code. They'll help us look at our decarbonization policy in general. So some stuff related to our RFP question.
Oh, yeah, so it's a grant funded position?
Correct.
Which grant?
So it is the EPA Climate Pollution Reduction Grant, and this is the jurisdictional sub-awards that are part of the building policy piece.
Cool.
It's a lot of
How
jargon.
many times have you had to say that?
Probably too many. This has been like years in the making, but it's very exciting because Superior's allocated $300,000. So we're using that partially for a part-time internal person to help us with both administering this grant and also the code pieces, our policies. We're supplementing our building department a little bit and having them help us because they're the people that actually do the permitting and the code piece and there are inspection services. And then we are also, there's one more piece. We've talked about a lot in here. I don't know if anyone knows. Those are the main two pieces.
Rebates and power.
Oh, that's a different thing. We have some money for technical assistance if we need it. That'll do it. So
You were talking to me.
we budgeted just a little bit, in case for future code adoptions or other things, we want to bring in a consultant that specializes in that to help us with those pieces.
So on that grant, there's no chance we might lose it if changes in EPA.
There is, I mean, it's been allocated. We're not touching the grant or doing anything to reduce the chances that we will, but I don't think anything is certain in this administration. So it's as secure as it can be, given that it's federal funds for an environmental topic.
Yeah. That doesn't make me feel warm.
It's not.
It was awarded under the previous administration, so what we're hearing about our federal grants is that anything awarded under the previous administration is harder for them to pull back. Anything awarded under January, February, March timeframe is a lot easier to really on. That's what I'm.
Oh, good.
So we're proceeding as though we are going to keep having this money and we are making sure not to touch or change anything about this grant like we originally thought we'd be able to, because this has been multiple years of planning that's gone into getting this money. But we're unfortunately, of course, not able to change anything at this point. So still a lot of good stuff and we're excited to get that allocation real soon. And then kind of connected also, like Lisa already noted in the staff update here, is Powerhead Colorado is launched. So that is that same pool of funding. That is Dr. Cog's kind of rebate advising and contractor stream. So they've launched the contractor finder tool, they've launched the contractor hub, and hopefully residential rebates will be coming tentatively April-ish. And we are trying to look at getting our rebate dollars into that pool as well, potentially for some Superior specific rebates now that Energy Smart is no longer doing state rebates. So we're in conversation with Dr. Cog along with some other communities like Louisville, Lafayette, Golden, other people that have done rebates through similar things. So stay tuned, but very exciting when that all comes together.
Are those gonna be for low income or anyone?
They are right now, it sounds like if we're talking about standard rebates, there's probably gonna be income qualified as well. But there's no formal details yet. I don't think they know. So stay tuned. I would promise to update you when we have details and specifics. So it sounds like there's probably gonna be contractor rebates too, to help encourage and incentivize contractors to go through the extra steps to kind of be more qualified in this space, because we know that is a big challenge for residents and people trying to install this stuff. But again, I'll let you know when the details are formalized. And that's it.
Do you mind if I ask Jen a question about what I was talking about earlier? So I don't know if you heard the news, the bad news today, that President Trump repealed the Engagement Act today. That limits power plant emissions and auto emissions and so forth. And he continues to say climate change is a hoax. And I'm just wondering, and without getting into a 2-hour political discussion,
Feel about this.
is there anything symbolically, maybe ACES could push forward with the town council, and the town council could ban with local cities or something to push something up to the federal government? I know it's gonna fall on deaf ears likely.
We meant like a joint resolution type
A
of.
joint resolution denouncing the repealing of this. Our city was a victim of a major fire that was driven by climate change. We don't believe it's a hoax. I'm just kind of spitballing here, but is there some, like, what's the council's appetite for this? Like, I don't wanna get ACES all excited and then, you know, it just doesn't make the agenda with the town council, but is it like, are these things you guys can do and help with, or?
3 things come to mind. One is, statement specifically tying it to how it impacts our community or how it would have, like, what happened to us is always good, right?
Yeah.
And we can run that up. But because I've seen things like when they were coming after federal lands and, what was the other one most recently?
Anchor.
No, I'm thinking of like, there's going to be pushback. There's going to be collective pushback from not just our state, it's gonna be anybody who is having the same feeling that you're having.
Exactly, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
and so, my only suggestion is like, you guys can bring that to us. We can amplify it to, higher, legislators. I think a statement or some pointed things about the community, like that's all great, but I think I expect there'll be coordinated efforts to hold legislators accountable to be pushing back on these things in whatever way they can. So it just might not be, worth the work or time, like it might be, I think there's gonna be bigger coordination to respond to it. So it might be to just let that happen. But I don't see any harm in doing it either, because you can write something that's very pointed to the issues, from this lens. And then as a council, we can either, whether it's make a resolution about where we stand on it, or I don't think there'd be anybody that would push back on that. And if I'm not championing it, Mike will, as well. So, but I guess the question I would ask you is, what is the action to take after that? Because I'm concerned that it'll be an effort and a push to land somewhere that may or may not have anything actually happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a legal expert, so
Yeah.
I don't know if there's something legally or if it's just maybe a symbolic statement.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Many cities, when the Paris, agreement was rejected, cities like Aspen and stuff said, we don't reject it, we still support it. It made public news, it made its way around. I just didn't know something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert in PR and this stuff, but.
I don't remember what the other one was, because I've been signing on to like the federal land stuff, there was another one, and just making Superior be on the map for these things, and then they've had reporters come. So they're groups that start to collectively, organize around these things, that will capture us, but we can inform them too. I mean, the Marshall Fire is a perfect example of this. And
This past winter,
he
right?
can't say like rake the leaves, like that's not, a response.
You would.
I mean, he would, he's an idiot, but
Yes.
that's not gonna apply here, so, I guess it would be however much, if it's cathartic for you and it feels like the right thing to do, I think the council would support that. No one's gonna push back on it.
Yeah,
I guess the question would be like, then, if we pass it up the chain of legislators, what are we asking them to do? Right?
yeah.
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 I
And I
mean,
don't, and I
obviously-
guess that's where I don't know what
Yeah.
they can do.
Yeah.
That's, I just don't know that.
Cause there's gonna be a lot of people saying like, you can't do this, and this,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think I am growing, cynical of the statements.
Mhm.
And I want there to be an ask from people to do something.
I agree.
If we're gonna put the energy and effort into it. So just to consider like, what would that ask be? I mean, to uphold what exists that he overturned or,
Yeah.
sorry, I just heard about it from you telling me, so I
Yeah,
don't know.
Obama passed it, basically that, and the Endangerment Act was passed under him, basically, confirmed that basically people's health are tied to emissions of power plants and things like that, and climate change.
Apologies, I know what it is, I don't know what he did, so he just said this doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, no limits on power plants or emissions.
Yeah,
Just as an alternative thought, is that there's power in turning that negative into a positive about the movement to the pollution from our vehicles and
Yeah.
our own community here. And then the way that this area and Colorado as a whole has adopted electrification of vehicles, stricter vehicle emissions, things like that. So there's a way to kind of promote it in a positive way that reinforces continued action on behalf of the people that live here as opposed to trying to push back against, pilot.
one thing RAC is doing is they've made a statement already when, it's from the EPA perspective, is that they're gonna hold the standard. They're not gonna lower anything regardless of what the government does. And so maybe there's a lane for that of like, we are great, good job that you did this. We're gonna keep doing, and that may be the ask from legislators that they hold the line and don't, give in to corporations that are gonna wanna be like,
Yeah.
this is great.
Suncor, yeah.
Right,
Yeah, there was a question today. I was listening to NPR on the way over and somebody was asking, well, could some state still enforce?
yeah.
And I think they can.
Right.
Mhm.
Even though-
That's the thing I don't know without like,
But I'm not
looking to parse out
sure.
like what is regulation coming from federal and what is the state, but the state could certainly reinforce or increase what they are doing to protect it, staying at the standard it is instead of just,
And they were specifically talking about California, but I
They've
think
been doing that kind of all along and starting their own healthcare approach, starting and looking at funding things from the state perspective.
I just saw what this governor's saying.
like on the vaccines, Colorado is still going to be
Yeah,
going with the pediatric
yeah.
recommendation as opposed to the CDC because the CDC has gone crazy.
All right,
Well,
well,
they don't say that.
thanks for your info. I guess ACES will discuss it at some point, probably not today. So,
If I see other opportunities, like Jen was saying, of those larger
Yeah.
mobilizations, like we did sign on to the We're Still In with the Paris Accord, it's like,
Yeah.
that's one that happened, I think there are probably going to be things that
Yeah, I mean,
realize at a higher level that we could.
yeah, we don't have to wait for the next meeting if there's something we need to sign or a letter we need to put together or something like that, so. Okay.
Am I allowed to
Oh,
chime in?
yeah.
Yeah, just real quick, we got a tight agenda, but.
Oh, sure.
No, but, go real quick.
Legal challenges are gonna be mounted, if you have data, especially because one of the findings for the endangerment, one of the things in the engagement was like, wildfires and variability, so if you have data, you could potentially be used as like a case study in one of these legal challenges. But anyways, I'll let the council move on.
But to your point, obviously, in the coming days, how this unravels.
Yeah.
So, well, thanks for your input. We should get moving to town event sustainability. Is that you, Michaela?
Yeah. So I'm here with good news and to celebrate a little bit. I think thanks to your guys' input, help and, budget, support, we made some huge strides last year in zero waste efforts for, our town, some of our major town events. Obviously, we've been shooting towards our overarching 65% diversion goal as a municipality, and with 4th of July, we hit 76%.
That's
Which
awesome.
is huge.
That's awesome.
And Chilean Beer Fest, we got close, we were at 62%. So, I think we've done a great job just in the last couple of years, and you guys have been instrumental in this help. Go to the next slide. So last year when I met with you all, you guys kind of helped us outline some more specific goals. The first one was to actually get diversion reports, which you wouldn't have thought would be that hard. But it was, and we were able to. This was actually due to being able to finally find some third-party contractors to work with, who actually cared and actually followed through and provided diversion reports. So we accomplished that. Second goal, we were using the Our World reusables. The first year we got hit real hard, didn't return very much of them. So we wanted to increase that rate. We did, 98% return rate on those, which is huge. Not only did it save money, but obviously the diversion rates on those. Third goal was to reestablish the Green Team volunteer program to help monitor some of our zero waste stations for events. We did bring that back. And then we added compost the 4th of July, and we offered reusable bags for our summer markets. So we had some great goals last year. We accomplished all of them. Obviously, we're not perfect. There's still some room for improvements. So that's kind of why I'm here tonight. You can go to the next one.
Michelle.
Oh, Michelle, yes.
I just have to give a big shout out to you, Michaela. I know how hard you work on this and how you listen to Alexis's suggestions and follow through and use data to drive your decisions and your policy changes. So I just want to applaud the work and your leadership. Kudos to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. Well, your guys' input and support and recommendations are a huge help, and I appreciate the support and the realistic approach, acknowledging that, you know, we have to take it in steps and some efforts are easier than others. So we're making good progress. So based off of last year's progress, we've kind of established some new goals. Obviously, to keep things moving, we want to keep our diversion rates going. So I plan to continue to use third-party contractors for our big events, 4th of July and Chili Fest. There's the possibility, our summer concerts are another kind of containable event where we're using reusables, recyclables, are pretty manageable. So we can start running diversion reports there. We'll continue to use our green teams and continue to have, you know, a probably solid real return on our world reusables. I would really like to hone in on our green team volunteers. We were lacking in accountability last year. We had probably about 30% show up rate for our summer concerts. We had a few very, very solid folks that would show up. And then we had a huge number that just wouldn't show up. And then to be very honest, at Chili Fest, we had a huge group that showed up, spent most of the time sitting around on their cell phones, not actually engaging, educating, and doing what we really needed them to do. So I think there's a big area for improvement there. I have a new volunteer and events coordinator who will be dedicated primarily to kind of help with our volunteer program, and green team is top of her list to work with.
And these are paid volunteers, which I think ACES knows, but just to
Yeah,
reiterate that
so-
too, we do pay.
Subsidized.
Yeah.
I mean, they get
gift cards.
yeah.
Are these the ones that we purchased with our budget, or do you have other gift cards that you?
Nope, you guys are the
These are the
ones.
ones that
And
came
then
from
they
our-
didn't do their job. And that's sad.
I mean, there was a few who engaged in a great job, but I think word got out, you know?
Yeah.
You can sit around and make $100.
Yeah.
And to fully admit, there wasn't as much oversight as I had planned and wanted to have over the group, which we'll be able to change this year. CBYS, the zero waste contracting company we're gonna work with, we're gonna increase their oversight over the green team. We're gonna hire a couple extra staffing members from their company specifically to kind of monitor, walk around, in addition to doing some before event trainings with our green team. The idea is this year we can get a very specific niche group of volunteers. They'll probably do some pre-event training, have some sort of accountability, some sort of checklist that they have to go through before they're even allowed to, sign up for events. And then on-site training before they're distributed out onto the zero waste stations.
I'm gonna meet with the team, the events team, as well as CBYS to talk about, if there's additional support from sustainability staff in terms of signage or videos or training, Q&As, like whatever we can kind of provide from that sustainability lens to make sure that, this piece is even more successful this year.
Yeah.
Remind me who CBYS is? Is that the name of the company?
Yeah, it's the name of the
Oh,
company we're using, yeah. So we used, Scraps for 4th of July.
Oh, okay.
They're incredible to work with. We got some intense feedback that we didn't meet their criteria with, our zero waste requirements for our booths and our vendors. They weren't very happy with us. Just the tchotchke stuff. There's Capri Suns that showed up, the little individually wrapped stuff. So we felt that until we're able to establish a more specific criteria for our vendors, it's best that we don't bring scraps back. They're also a lot more expensive. And we do have to sign a very specific contract with them. They're pretty lenient the first year you use them. But when you start to use them repetitively, they get a little more strict on what's allowed in the events. So, we can go to the next one.
How's the vendor guideline document going?
So this is my ask of you.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, okay, all right. There's a foreshadowing there.
Yeah, so I think we've kind of reached a point, where this is a big, ask. So I'm looking to see kind of where we go from here. I think our year-to-year goals are great. I will fully admit from an event side, we can streamline communications. We can kind of streamline our signage where we're placing zero waste stations. But the feedback we got last year is that we're at a place, where any bigger efforts are gonna require more manpower, which essentially will probably require more budget. So we're gonna need some more buy-in. And ultimately, I'm probably gonna have to take this to council, because it's gonna have some budgetary implications to it. And then it's gonna have some implications on how we approach our vendors and our businesses who participate in these events. So this is where I'm looking for recommendations and suggestions from ACES. Last year, we spent $25,000 on zero waste efforts for events. This year, we're looking at about 35,000. It's a lot, but where's the threshold? Are we shooting for absolute zero waste, or are we looking for somewhere in between? Obviously, there's pros and cons to both sides of it. And then when we're approaching these vendors, there's pros and cons there too. The bigger restrictions on what they're allowed to bring into these events obviously have implications on how these business vendors are able to participate. Last year, we were told, the implications of the contract with Scraps, was pretty heavy, and that it was going to have a big effect on how the businesses participated in these events. Not being able to get, the cheap individually wrapped tchotchke giveaways, was gonna have an implication. So, how do we approach this? Where do we draw the lines? How much pressure is reasonable to put on our local business participants? Yes, Michelle.
Hi, everybody. So I think most of you know where I stand on this. City of Boulder, Boulder's Farmers Market, the Longmont Boulder's Farmers Market, City of Louisville, all have, the City of Lafayette in their art evenings have successfully managed these strict guidelines, and they hire scraps, or they have scraps people. We are on our journey to zero waste, and we have just really begun that journey when we hired a sustainability manager or analyst, then became manager. So relative to these other cities, we are a newbie on this scene. However, we have accelerated very, very quickly. And because we're part of Boulder County, it's kind of expected that we follow suit with these other cities. So I would say the vendors that we get from Boulder County are used to these requirements. The people that are not used to these requirements are our local businesses. And I suggest we start with our own Chamber of Commerce. This is where we have the biggest bang for our buck and can make the biggest impact by we being a partner with them to illustrate what does zero waste business practices mean and how can they change their behavior, change their existing inventory of giveaways that are single, disposable, or wrapped in plastic. And again, it starts with a waste audit. Look at what you see from these past events. I'll tell you one of the biggest things I cannot stand I see are those plastic zip ties. And that has nothing to do with scraps, but we should be giving out carabiners to help people put signs up. I just did a litter cleanup with Park Ranger Pariom and 8 other volunteers on Tuesday at Autry Park, because once the goats were done grazing, all the plastic trash that blew over from Bell Flatirons was very obvious. So we spent 2 hours and collected 140 pounds of trash. Most of it comes from Bell Flatirons and their trash receptacles not being secured during wind events. But our own Autry Park pickleball courts had tons of plastic zip ties that were cut from whatever signs they hooked onto. So I think we look internally in our town and we start with our Chamber of Commerce first and help become partners with them, explain them what zero waste management is like, and start there.
Do you stay in touch with Renee Alanis much? You guys have a regular meeting or any sort of cadence?
Yeah, I mean, so there are key partners for, local business vendors for the 4th of July and for Chili Fest. So they, coordinate all of the booths for 4th of July and Chili Fest.
Have you guys ever had any conversations specific to sustainability?
So last year when I brought in scraps and
Yeah.
provided the contract, we started having that conversation and there was pushback, there was concerns. We approached it last year, this is a recommendation and this is a test drive. Please explain to the businesses that they need to do their very best.
Yeah.
There obviously won't be, heavy consequences this round, but this is the direction we're trying to go. It didn't go very well.
And we've had the same conversation with the Chamber for Sustainability and like offering resources and other things. And I think that's part of why we're talking about this, is because on the town side, the pieces that we have more control over, we have really done a lot of work and spent a lot of funds to optimize those and make those as zero waste as possible. But that is kind of the context that we're working with.
Yeah. Okay, well, the other part too with Renee Alanis, and I've brought this up with Alexis, is she's the liaison for NCL. You know who NCL is, National Charity League, and they, that's mother-daughter group, and they always are looking for volunteer hours.
Okay.
And so, but you have to be on their list, for the girls to get credit for volunteering. But I think that this could maybe be an option for some volunteers. I mean, you still might need a plan B and have the gift cards in your back pocket in case we need to find someone last minute, which we've done, but I think Renee, maybe, like I said, she is the NCL representative for this town.
Yeah, essentially, we need superior businesses to be buying different things.
So,
We're approaching these events in a different way.
yeah,
Because I'm with Michelle and knows
Yeah.
swag giving out on a table is one way to do business. There are many other ways to do
Yeah.
business. You don't need to give away swag to engage people, but that's a very old mentality that has stuck around for years because they don't want to change. And so that's really the challenge around it. Nobody needs a single wrapped plastic keychain with a business on it that's like an insurance agency. Like,
Yeah, but we've got a path, so we kind of gave them the initial, indication of where things were going last year, and they pushed back. And so, now it's time to do it again, right? And I'm sure that they've been planning, very carefully ever since last year. That's a joke. I doubt it. But you know, if they're also dealing with, well, I got a bunch of those, you know.
Yeah, I bought
things,
5,052 of them from Temu, I've gotta get through them.
But it sounds like,
Yeah.
you could use some help in engaging with that crew to get them to kind of take your point there, Miles, and guys, this is real. I mean, to Michelle's point, everybody's doing this, right? This is not necessarily a new thing. This is something that is, a part of the region we are in. And so let's take this seriously. Let's those who are in the chamber, the businesses who immediately jump on board for this, awesome. And those who are the laggards, we need to give them some support, if not some kick in the tail to get moving.
Yeah, it'd be nice to kind of peel back the layers of this. I mean, you know, there's a lot of this maybe educational. And if we educate them more, if we get past these, kind of call them fictitious brick walls where they're just putting up a wall.
And there's
No,
probably some
if they're costing more money, no.
Probably some champions inside the chamber.
Well, yeah, and can we bring in example businesses that did make the switch to more sustainable products and they can come in and talk to the chamber and say, hey, I was a struggling business like you, I made this change, you improved my image, blah, blah, blah. You know, hearing a bunch of ACES people talking about how great it is, sustainable is probably not gonna help them out. But I'm just kind of wondering how, if it's just like a blue, no, that's gonna cost my businesses more money, we're out. You know, I didn't, we're not there with these conversations with you and Renee, but you know, we'd love to be a backbone to brainstorm with you and see if there's, you know, I'm sure they have monthly meetings and things like that, you know, can we get a guest speaker from a business that kind of made the switch in the last couple of years?
And I think that's a great idea. I have yet to hear it from the business standpoint.
Yeah.
The specifics on where and what the
Yeah,
concerns
just the
are.
president saying a hard no, it's like, no, we need to get past that, and we need more data, you know, not just the no. you
Okay,
know?
yeah. And I mean, Alexis and Emily have worked and they're putting together a document that's, you know, creative options to steer away from the old school tchotchke individuals, you
Yeah.
know, engagement, raffles, activities.
Yeah,
And you know, and to the chamber's credit, we've been trying to approach these events over the last few years that direction, that, you know, you are gonna get more people engaged if you engage them in activities rather than just handing out stuff.
yeah,
So that mentality we have been trying to instill in the businesses. But I think they've been going at it less from an environmental standpoint and more from a marketing business standpoint. But I think if we can kind of meld that together somehow and make it less environmentally, you know, forceful and scary.
That's where you need business discussions.
Yeah.
Listen to the other businesses, and so like what I'm wondering is can we reach out to the chambers in Lafayette and Louisville and the other chambers that have worked with businesses, if that's been the successful route there, if not, to your counterparts, at those areas to suggest sustainable businesses that have made the transition, not sustainable businesses, but businesses that have gone from the status quo to this newer approach and being able to tell that advocacy tale, that what that journey looked like.
Yeah,
But from the town standpoint, there does need to be a little bit of a stick, I think, of this is coming. Like, this is the way that we are moving. You are going to have to transition to this. Stop ordering everything on, you know, the first day of the fiscal year for your swag for the year based on what you ordered last year. Move away from that. So I don't know quite what that looks like from the town's ability to stop that from happening, but it's gonna be, it's not gonna, Jim's right, it's gonna be us telling the businesses to do things in a green way. It's gonna be other businesses talking about the benefits of doing that.
And, yeah, giving them ideas and examples of businesses that have done it. That would be great.
Can I just give another layer of, like, Michaela handled like all of the answers so diplomatically, but I wanna tell you the social layer from just the anecdotally is that like, I think their walls are up about this kind of stuff. And I don't have the history or understand why, but I think, like, I don't know if somebody said it, but they're like preparing for, you know, this to be, like, we're gonna push back on this. And so I love the idea of that what I don't wanna do is have staff trying to convince an entity that's not the town, the chamber, whose job is to like advocate hard for businesses because they're their members, trying to figure out this. And so it may need to be more of a, this is what the goal, like, this very much is in alignment with our goals as a town council, what we want for sustainability. It's a top tier, it comes on every survey, it's important to people. And so maybe the lane is more that it comes to shield or remove any individuals from perceived ideologies or pushback from, costs or things between businesses, that the town actually has like but I think there should be a ramp, like a ramp up period or off ramp or whatever it is for them to not just say this year it's this and the next year it's that. Because I think that wouldn't be received well because of the already they're trying to, no one's saying this, but again, this is just my interpretation of some of the emotional side of this, is that some of the businesses have done it the way they've done it for so long. They want to come and do the thing and that's their, and they love that. And the people love it too, like they're asking for it. So there has to be some transition from like whatever they did to whatever the new thing is. And I don't know if, anything that has happened yet has worked. I think it's like the walls are there. So, just, that's it. That's all I just wanted to say. Like, I think it's a good place. The town is the neutral party in this.
We start reading the record.
Well, we've talked about getting the green business program going here for years.
Yeah, that's kind of been around for a while. But
And I just don't think the Colorado Green Business Program resonates with residents in Superior. It doesn't really resonate with anybody anymore, I don't think, not really.
I think if
So
people see it as
there's-
a cost too, like right now, they're like racing for impact. And that is another concern. It's like, if you take away the thing that I figured out is low cost and want me to do something that costs me more money, I don't know how to tell them, do that right now.
And there's also the way of the recognition space of acknowledging the businesses or doing a poll to the residents in Superior to recommend businesses they see doing sustainable business practices or doing the best they can for environmental purposes and see what the public spits back.
Yeah.
Then celebrate those businesses based on their actions, promote them in social spaces from the community aspect, not the town aspect. So that people understand what are the best sustainable businesses in Colorado, in Superior, so that they can be more patrons of those businesses versus maybe some of the other ones that aren't doing anything. So shift a little bit of that knowledge around what is a sustainable business in Superior, because right now, I have no idea what businesses are the most sustainable in Superior, no.
But we're really just talking about events and
Not
Whether
exactly, big impactful businesses.
whether
But
they,
it doesn't, there's small businesses that are, mom and pop shops in Lafayette and Louisville that are doing a million things better than any business here that I know of. But that doesn't mean I don't know them. Like, how do I get to know them? Somebody out there is doing it in Superior. How do we find out who that is? And how do we promote the hell out of them?
I think some of the education too for the community of just asking questions like, so what do you do with those little things that you get?
Sure.
Because as a parent, most of them throw them in the trash.
yeah,
They might not even get opened. Like
Yeah.
they're, and so I think that
6 out of 7 are broken.
like reminding people of their behavior so that you're not losing something. If this is this transition, and I don't know what that looks like, but I think there has to be consciousness of the consumers of it to go like, wait a minute.
I know, I will say,
I
I got this at the beer fest and I have been using it. And
That's a useful item.
Yeah.
This is my useful
Especially
item,
Colorado.
and it's not that expensive.
Yeah.
If you
I
have to
mean-
go sit in chapstick and lotion and humidifiers, or.
You gotta have a chat.
Michelle, you talked about the ramping up in the timeline with the other with the other municipalities. What timeline seems reasonable, for us to be?
Yeah. I think within 2 years. I think you use this year as a data gathering year, and maybe one suggestion, I'll throw this up. Miles, I love your ideas. What do you guys think if you thought about this as a capstone, one of the MVES capstone projects? I know our 2 events occur in the summertime, unfortunately, or one's the July 4th. So students aren't in session at that time. But to Miles' point, if you do a waste audit after July 4th and you look what's in those trash cans, and CBYS could possibly do this. This would be something that is in their wheelhouse, that they could take a trash can and sort it, especially when you compost and take the food scraps out of the trash. You will see which company has their tchotchkes that people are just throwing away. And it's a shame. And if it wasn't for Vargas, who cleans up after our events, they're the ones that know the most of what stuff they're cleaning up. So I think you start with collecting data this year, and then Michaela, to your point, we then use that data to then help inform decisions. So I could see possibly this year recognizing those companies that we've created a pre-event checklist, and then we give them a big green award ribbon on the front of their tent. And then we show people, and we put a little tent card or use our tent sign to say, this is what it means to be a sustainable business. And just get that reinforcement for that positive recognition. And then the other ones, you will know after the summer, if you do a waste audit, who are the ones that we need to work with personally without shaming them, but then you explain to them and do a personal visit. I really think that's what it's going to take to explain what their impact is on our streams. If you look at Rock Creek, the plastic pollution that ends up in there. If you look, when I cleaned up after not this 4th of July, I think last year, I found a lot of not popsicle sticks, Dum Dum lollipop sticks. The sticks are not compostable. They have plastic glue inside that cardboard. It's not pure cardboard. So when you do that waste audit, and I know people are interested in that data, we just got to find the group that wants to know that data because they help inform the policy. And it's one of those studies that is valuable to do. But think about having an MENV capstone project as municipal policy, working with Chamber of Commerce. I think this is a very right project for those people that do policy. They would love to get their hands on this kind of project and have an impact on it.
Have we done a community capstone on the town?
Well, I think we just have a couple minutes left. Michaela, is there anything left on your agenda?
My last big one, and I can send this list out to you guys if you want to noodle and email me any other ideas you have. We are switching away from an Arbor Day event, where everyone gathers and circulates booths to more focused on, moving towards an Earth Month. So we're gonna do a couple, volunteer projects. We're gonna have some small educational activities. So if you guys have any ideas on areas that need some TLC, love, trash cleanup in the community, gardening projects, areas that need some trees that we may not know of, partners that we should think about partnering with, please let me know.
It's like Michelle's the first in line.
No, Michelle, not you.
What do you got,
So-
Michelle?
Yeah.
So when I was doing the litter cleanup with Park Ranger Pari and the other 8 volunteers, they are the people that volunteer for our raptor monitoring program and our wildlife observation program. So these folks are definitely caring about our community. And I've heard their major complaint in that we are losing our trees. We are losing our big cottonwoods and they're not being replaced. Our little trees have died. Many trees have been replanted after Marshall Fire and people have seen them being dead trees. And they feel like it's going on deaf ears. And that's pretty serious when our folks in our town who are the volunteers about nature feel like nobody is listening to them. So first thing I would do is go to the OSAC, go to Park and go to those volunteers in the raptor and the wildlife monitoring and send a survey out to them, asking them that same question. I think you will get some really good response, but we need to bring our cottonwood trees back. They are keystone species. A lot of them died in the Marshall Fire along Rock Creek. And I think we just need to listen to those folks that really know the most about our ecosystem health and what we can do to bring back those trees that are cornerstone to habitat for animals, draw down carbon, provide shade, et cetera, et cetera.
Is it Pari? Yeah, I mean, I assume she's got a lot of ideas.
Yeah, I got a list from
And I did
her.
volunteer with her last fall on the trail work there, back by the South Pool. And yeah, that was great. You know, I think I love it, but I haven't seen her advertise an event since then. Like, you'd think we'd almost have like a monthly event, you know, volunteering and I think she might be
So you're
surprised.
soliciting suggestions from multiple people? not
Yeah, so I've got a
you're-
list from Kari,
Yeah.
I've got a list from like our parks guys of areas.
Okay, all right, so there's
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah,
Ask them,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think, you know, the one thing, I didn't hear come through on these asks, it was mostly focused on solid waste and recycling is, and I brought this up to ACES before, is that it would really be nice for these food trucks if we could provide plug-in power for them and not have them run their gas generators, because anyone that's been to the summer concerts, man, you get too far around the truck, you're standing in a cloud of smoke because those gas generators are running. So not only for the health and safety of the people that are there at the event, but then there's the noise pollution, and then there's just the environmental impact of putting those pollutants in the air.
we don't have the infrastructure.
Well, I get it.
You guys wanna lobby for that?
I'm not saying we got 240, 50 amp outlets sitting there, but I don't know, maybe there's creative ways to run power. I mean, I know you gotta run power lines and stuff, maybe rent them as a temporary solution. I mean, you see that whenever you go to any temporary event, there's power lines and the roll rubber things all over the place. But yeah, we consistently have food trucks here at Community Park, and we consistently have food trucks right there at the bandstand every year, and maybe it's time that we look into some 240 outlets and some breakers so our food trucks can plug in. And again, back to a solid waste requirement with food truck vendors, but now they need to bring a food truck that can plug into a power supply.
Are the food truck folks tracking the engines off program from RAC? It's a food
Yeah.
truck electrification, so pay up to 80% of upgrading it to electric. And maybe there's something the town could do, like, one, to make sure that they have that information and can support that, but like, maybe there's the other 20%, like,
Is
I
that
don't,
80% just for the food truck, or does that help like a town like Superior putting the plugs?
no, this is a food truck program.
Okay, food
This is
truck.
specifically for food
Yeah.
trucks to electrify and transition from gas.
Yeah,
So, but maybe there's some, if we have repeat food trucks out there, maybe we should be working to like inform them about these things that they can apply for. I mean, it's a grant money that's available for them to do it.
Do we have a list? Sorry, go ahead, Alex.
Oh, I was gonna say, we did fly this opportunity, economic development sending out their survey to businesses, and we did find out that, there are food trucks that are members of the chamber and others that will get the survey, so we did make sure to include that as one sustainability resource to make sure that people are aware of it. So it's on there, and we kind of provided a long menu of options of resources that exist, for business sustainability, and to ask if they would like more information about any of those things to try and kind of ramp up this green business piece. So we do have that on that list because of that program.
Do you know if anybody's put together a roster of electric food trucks in the area?
I have not seen one.
And can they make those requirements, they apply for this grant?
Can we put out a survey, working with the larger chambers, in particular, to say, you know, as, you know, we continue to try to electrify as much as we can in the county,
Yeah.
we're trying to gather, because I mean, I know of a few of them off the top of my head, but like, I mean, it'd be great to be able to get that out, posted in socials.
So I work with, I mean, like all the other municipal
Yeah.
events coordinators and stuff, and we could probably all work together to create a running list.
I was
It's not gonna be a huge list, it'll be pretty easy to start.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd be
Very good,
surprised, there's probably a good, you know, dozen or so, would be my guess at least.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking if we can get that list, we can then get out correspondence or a survey to them to ask them what their requirements would be for power going to an event. You know, do they have their own, some of them have their own battery generators that they bring already, or they have some sort of solar battery solution for their trucks. So some of them might be self-sustaining where you wouldn't need infrastructure. Other ones definitely do, but we could understand what their requirements are, so we could at least cost out what it would be to either rent or install something permanently at that location.
Yeah.
But I think there's another step beyond this, which is getting the information out to all the food truck operators about electrification and about like the direction of events in Boulder County, looking at more electrified options for food trucks.
And it's not like this engines off program is.
Exactly.
Well, I'd argue that probably the most of their energy that they use is from the propane tanks on the back of the truck that's powering the deep fryers and the fryers and the griddles and all that stuff. So I mean, there's still that part of the energy too.
We have a truck at DPS that is like used by the culinary,
Yeah.
like educational component
Yeah.
that does events. It's got a full battery power for all the electric kitchen that's on the.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So they
Okay.
do exist,
They do exist.
but
Okay.
I just don't know, I mean, there was like a, grant and then
Yeah.
it was a big hullabaloo, but like, I'm not sure if others exist like that, or if they all need to have,
Yeah.
some sort of alternate secondary fuel source. I don't know.
I have to say, I feel like we talked about this too recently at the council meeting about, because there's a lot of discussion about what the permanent feel of the downtown Superior is gonna look like, and having these trucks emitting
Yeah.
that was a no-go. So I know that there's some kind of discussion for an electrical, like, upgrade or opportunity. I can't remember all the details, and if it was like a pipe dream or like we build this in next year's budget. So let me see what I can find out. 'Cause we just talked about this a couple months ago.
Is the town, once the food hall is built, would they consider moving the concerts over to the stage in downtown? Then you don't need food trucks anymore.
There's no capacity. We tried them last year downtown.
It's just down up, yeah, so it's gotta stay by that park.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, I know we're a few minutes over here, but any final questions, or I think this has been an excellent brainstorm session,
Yeah,
so.
thank you. I appreciate
Well,
it.
thank you, this is great, yeah, please come anytime you want. It's nice having you. Okay,
So there was supposed to be a discussion about ACES attendance, but I'm wondering if I can just maybe show you this list and we can maybe come back to it, because I know that Jordan and Mary are already online to talk about the pools, but maybe in case you didn't see it in the staff or in the email I sent out, I just kind of want to know, I know that this was brought up at the last meeting, so I'm gonna move this over, but I did take Michaela's list of community events and kind of put together ones that I thought might be of interest to ACES. We have a couple months still, there's not a lot happening, of course, until further into the summer. But I think especially with a smaller group and how active ACES has been, it's probably worth a conversation about prioritizing maybe
Yeah.
what events y'all go to, but I don't know how you feel about maybe digesting this at home and revisiting it next month.
yes, let's try
Yeah,
that.
okay,
Agenda.
That's a good idea.
Okay,
Yeah, then the next one up is April 11th, so we got one more meeting.
yep, you got time.
We got time to procrastinate, yes.
But thank you for calling that out, because that is the hard recycle event, so that's the big one that sustainability runs on our own. And we always appreciate volunteers, even for an hour. As you all know, we have over 300 cars that come through and it gets a little chaotic, and so we appreciate the help both either at the front talking to residents as they come in, we always talk to every single car, and also helping us just kind of move people smoothly through that event.
Yeah, same.
Great.
Yeah.
Any changes to the event this year?
Nope, should be the same. We're meeting with Boulder County and EcoCycle next week just to confirm that they can still take everything, including the mowers, but it should be the same.
Big arrows exit this way.
We added more signs, we have more
How
signs.
many people go in the wrong direction
Yeah.
last year?
We had a lot of signs and a lot of people still trying to turn around in the
I
wrong
know.
one, but
More
volunteers
cones, more
really help. Yeah, we're gonna have more cones, we added more signs.
Good, excellent.
But yes, I appreciate it.
In general, on the events, since a lot of them are far out.
Yeah.
It's hard to commit to something in December and
And that's
February.
fair. Yeah,
And I
I'm
would
not
just
thinking we
quickly
should.
add, all committees are struggling with membership. So I've been suggesting, get creative, think about booth sharing. If ACES and OSAC and Park all wanna combine forces into one booth. That's a great idea. At the markets, I will have a booth, like an events booth at every market. So there's always options, to put up a sign or have one person just come occasionally. You don't have to run an entire booth type stuff.
Yeah, I like
Yeah, that's a good idea.
An easy road.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
It's great.
One, you all have this at least down to reference, because I agree December is really far away, you don't have to commit to it, but
Okay,
I try to
But yeah,
put that
it's good
together
to
so you all can
think
see
about.
kind of what the possibilities were.
yeah.
On here, are we looking at, which events are we looking at volunteering at out of this list? Cause the hard recycles italicized, and the summer markets at the town, when the time ones are bolded.
Oh, those are just
So-
italicized because they're not my
Okay.
events.
They're
This,
not the
yeah.
big town ones.
So what are we making a choice as to what we want to be at, basically.
I think that's the discussion.
So it's all open.
It's all open. ACES has not committed to any of these, but these are, I kind of tried to pick the ones that I think would be
Yeah.
ones you would consider. And I certainly don't advocate for you all attending all of these. That would be way too much.
Same, yeah.
But just wanted to, I narrowed down the list to ones that were possible, and I think that was the purpose of the discussion, and so.
Mhm. Okay, great.
Thank you.
All right, we ready to move on to the
Yeah.
South Pool sustainability presentation?
We've got Jordan and Mary here, and I'm gonna make Mary
Awesome.
co-host so that she can share her screen.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us. We appreciate you taking the time to listen about South Pool this evening. So just to kind of give a quick recap of what's going on with the pool, we are working on the design right now. So we have Barker Rinker CCAT Architecture, BRS. So Mary works very closely with us on that project. She's from BRS. And we have Group 14, who has helped with this sustainability study that Mary's going to be presenting. So, you know, it's the same group that helped us with North Pool, although we kind of brought them on a little bit later in North Pool. So we didn't get as detailed, I think, as what you're going to see tonight. The plan is to present to you all tonight and then take kind of the same presentation after your feedback to council on February 23rd. So that's what we're looking at right now. And then hopefully design will be finished right at the end of March. And these projects will be bid out together, both North and South Pool. And so contractors will have the opportunity to bid on one or the other or both pools at the same time. So we're hoping to get some good pricing by doing it that way. So we'll see how it goes, fingers crossed. And yeah, I think we can take any questions on the general project after as well, but I'll just let Mary take it away.
Great,
Thanks. Yeah, thanks, Jordan. Yeah, I've got an update on the South Pool. We are about just halfway over our design process for this pool. And I'll kind of provide where we are with sustainability initiatives and plans for moving forward. So to start with an update on the pool itself, it was approved by the council to demolish the existing pool, and we're replacing it with one in the exact same location. So you'll have a brand new pool, and we are adding additional water to this pool, so it will be larger in size. I believe total we are going to be at about 130,000 gallons of water with the new pool. We're also replacing the water slide with a new slide with a run out, so that will operate on separately on the deck and not dump into the pool any longer. And we are converting the toddler pool to a splash pad. And the idea is that they will be accessible outside of pool hours, similar to the playground that's next to it. So we have an updated pool mechanical room layout, as since we are replacing pretty much all of the pool equipment with new, and slightly expanding the size of that room within the existing building footprint to accommodate all of the new equipment for having the water slide and the new pool and the new splash pad. So to start with focusing on the pool equipment, by replacing pretty much all pieces of equipment and replacing with new, much higher efficient models, and we are gaining a lot of energy efficiency in that switch alone. We are replacing the filtration system, moving to regenerative media filter and away from a sand filter. On projects where we have done this change, such as some of our larger rec centers, they have seen savings of over 1 million gallons of water a year. Obviously, we have a small body of water here. I think you could assume probably around 1/3 of that in your water savings, but you can see at the top here next to this picture, this blue unit is the new filter. That is about a lot of the savings you get by switching to the media instead of sand. It just requires a lot less water. We are also replacing the pool heater. This is a large piece of equipment, but we are moving currently in the plans to move to a 97% high efficiency heater. A standard new heater would be at about 85% efficiency. So we are going with a high efficiency model instead. That it is more expensive. It's a higher cost to do so, but knowing Superior's goals for having greater efficiency here, we are planning to use that high efficiency model. We also, by replacing the pool pumps, we will get much more efficiency out of new pumps there as well. And then in terms of environmental health, we are switching the sanitation system away from liquid chlorine. We'll no longer be using that, and we are using AccuTab system with UV sanitation. So you will no longer have any of the off-gassing and everything associated with the chlorine at this pool. On the site, along with replacing the pool, we will replace the entire pool deck and some sections of the sidewalk, and anywhere we need to do some utility work in the front of the building, we'll get new concrete. But we are using strategies to have low embodied carbon concrete. We are exploring several different products for that and methods. We will provide on-site power for food trucks in the front of the building, so they'll have plug-in electricity there at the front of the building. And we are also requiring the demolished concrete be recycled as a part of the RFP. When this goes to contractors, they will be required to include that. So for the concrete, these are some of the strategies we are still investigating. So we don't 100% have the product we'll be using. We need to do a lot of exploring that it will perform well, specifically as a pool deck, especially with the non-slip finishes that we have to achieve, and make sure whatever concrete product we use gets that nice broom swirl finish on it so that it is non-slip. But we are exploring different blended cements with fly ash, and we're also exploring things like carbon cure, which essentially mineralize the CO2 within the concrete so that it pretty much goes away even when it's demolished later on in the future. Within our specifications on our drawings, we will require certain embodied carbon limits in the concrete mixes. So regardless of what product we end up with, it will have to meet those limits, which are based on global warming potential goals. We also are exploring the concrete that CDOT requires for any pavements and sidewalks using the type 1L cement. Again, we're not quite sure yet that we can use that on the pool deck, but we can use that for any sidewalks and pavement repairs we have to do elsewhere. For the building, the bathhouse, we are doing major renovation in some areas, but very minor renovation in others. We are expanding the pool mechanical room because we need more space. And even with all the new equipment in the larger room, it's very tight. It's kind of been like a puzzle trying to fit that all together. To do that, we are removing select walls, but we are keeping many intact as well. We also have to add a single user gender neutral restroom here. So that led us to kind of redoing the men's and women's locker rooms. But the guard office and other storage spaces and our chemical storage rooms, we are keeping all those interior walls intact. So we really tried to reuse as much as we could with this renovation instead of just tearing down the interior completely. We are moving select finishes and light fixtures, but we are keeping the lobby ceiling and lobby light fixtures because they're in really good shape. So we're reusing where we can. We are keeping the entire existing floor slab with the exception of one small chemical room where we need to demolish it to install the new pool piping. But other than that, majority of the floor slab will stay. And on the exterior, we're really keeping all of the finishes. We are keeping the windows and we are keeping a lot of exterior walls and making some small modifications to the existing storefront on the front and back of the lobby, but otherwise keeping all the glass that's there. We have very little new glazing going in the renovation. We are doing a portion of new window at the guard office to give them greater visibility. So that will be low E glass. We'll of course use low flow pummeling fixtures throughout, and we are replacing all of the lighting with new LED lights. So for the building concepts, just to recap the energy efficient initiatives there, the existing PV solar will remain on the roof and that system will remain ongoing. Upgrading the LED light fixtures, adding controls, daylighting controls, including the pool deck and the pool will all get LED light fixtures, reusing the lobby lighting, as I said. We are also using an all-electric domestic hot water heater, so we will not have a gas boiler for domestic water anymore. We are moving to an electrical boiler, even though that is more expensive. That is something we are planning in the design currently. And unlike the North Pool, we're not adding heating and cooling to this building because it's going to remain just a seasonal building. So we will not have the mechanical systems needed for HVAC there. Other things, just to ensure we're reducing our carbon footprint where we can. As a firm, we require EPD submittals for specific products. So that just means when the building's under construction and the GC is getting submittals for all their building materials, they are required to show their environmental product declarations, and we will review them as well as have our engineering team review those. And that is to keep certain materials within our low embodied carbon limits. And we are also using as much as possible. We really don't have a lot of new finishes going in this building. It's mostly tile, but we will use recycled content wherever we can. And of course, low VOC for all of our paints. So we've also, as Jordan mentioned, we hired Group 14 to help with an energy analysis here when it comes to the pool heating, because that is our big piece of equipment here that does rely on gas currently. We had them study, give us both annual operating costs and a 30-year projected operating costs for a 100% electric system, a 100% gas system, and a combination of the two using 70% electric and 30% gas as a backup. Their calculations do assume that the PV system stays in use, so it is taking that into account. And they also included escalation in a 30-year projections using the NIST rate calculator. We also have gotten capital expenses, so that's just the upfront cost for these systems from a GC. The electric heater includes a lot of upfront electrical work that would be required at this building to use an electric heater. Because of the massive electrical draw, we would have to upsize the electrical service currently into the building. And it would then require a lot of other kind of extra connections and components, including a step down transformer and an extra panel board. So when you see that cost, it includes all of it. It also includes an assumption for Excel to charge their customer, essentially charge Superior, to upgrade their transformer and add the additional capacity to this site. We won't know an exact cost of that until Excel actually does the engineering and drawings on their end. So for now, we are using an assumption. For the gas heater pricing, that will include the unit itself, also the installation and taxes, delivery, all of that. So it's kind of assumed as a fully installed system when you see the pricing. So here is the cost comparison for those electric and gas heating options. And again, this will go to the council for consideration as well. We have the capital expense in this central column here for electric pool heaters in the top row, then a gas boiler in the middle row, and then the electric and gas combination at the bottom here. The bottom in gray, those boxes are your existing gas boiler. So you're seeing how much you currently pay to operate that. And if you were to keep it, kind of what that expended cost would be. So we also have the annual operating costs here. And then of course, that's the operating expense with the 30-year NPV in the final column here. This is based on the pool operating season kind of staying as it is. We're not adding a shoulder season. We're not extending it into any other parts of the year. This do these charts. I'm not going to go through this too much, but this breaks down how we got to those total numbers, kind of what I was just explaining of all of the electrical connections and work that has to be done to upgrade the electrical in order to install an electric heater. And then the cost here to install the gas heater at 183,000. The combination of $416,000 cost because you are buying one electrical heater as well as the gas boiler to do that. You don't have quite as much of the upgrades to electrical because it would be a smaller load, but you still do require some upgrades and extra components and connections. The reason we showed a range in the first chart is because of some of the assumptions here, especially like Excel. You'll see we are assuming between 60,000 and 120,000 for what that fee might be, but we really wouldn't know that cost until we're working with Excel and doing that. So that is why we are providing a range for the electric heaters. Just some considerations that we wanted to share when you consider going to an all-electric facility, especially when it's a pool, which is not, kind of a challenging thing to heat. First was the cost considerations we just looked at, but all of the upsizing of the electrical distribution system that I mentioned as well, the step-down transformer, the additional panels, the Excel fees. Also, these pieces of equipment are really just not considered to be efficient. They draw a very large load, and I have heard them described as running hard all of the time. So also our aquatics designer on this project, Water Technology, they have shared their awareness of a lot of pool projects that have began operations with electric heaters because they didn't have gas available at their site. Most eventually brought a gas source onto the site so that they convert back to gas, just because the operational and maintenance is so intensive for these electric heaters. The heater rods inside the heaters are considered to be just very high maintenance for this type of heat source. I also wanted to touch on air source electric heat pumps, because even though you didn't see this in the energy analysis we provided, this is another way of heating pools, and it's a more recent technology, but we are seeing this introduced on outdoor pool projects. So I have included as well what the upfront costs would be here. And then we just want to share the considerations of this type of system and why we are not recommending it for this pool. So they are more efficient than the electric heaters. They have about half of the electrical load, and the cost of the electrical upgrades would also probably be around half. They don't operate in cold temperatures. So under 40 degrees, they just stop working, and under 50 degrees, they become less efficient. However, since this is just a summer seasonal pool, we wouldn't be too concerned about that. They have to go outdoors, so this is not something that could go in the pool mechanical room. They're also very large. This unit on the top here is 8 feet by 5 feet by 7 feet high. This is called the Big Bopper. This is one manufacturer's heat pump. And we are seeing this installed in Carbondale, Colorado right now. They are opening later this year. We do know they've had construction delays related to this system. They've also been installed in Mountain View, California at an outdoor pool there. And they also had construction delays due to challenges with the hot water system. They're also going in at an aquatic center in Piedmont, California that is also opening next year, or later this year, excuse me. For the Superior South Pool, we would probably need about 4 to 5 of these units. And since they have to be placed outside and we do not have a roof structure these could be placed on, they would have to go somewhere on the site on a concrete pad, which would be about 600 square feet. So that's obviously added cost there as well. They do work really well, though, if you were doing new construction and you could design a rooftop structurally that could take the weight of those units. There's also a noise concern. We have heard these are very high decibel levels. And so for a neighborhood pool where you're close to houses, we do anticipate that there would be a lot of disruption to your neighbors because of the noise. there is a pool in Menlo Park, California, which installed 5 of these a couple of years ago, and they had to apply for a noise ordinance or variance because they were exceeding the allowed nighttime noise levels in their neighborhood. And so they had to, they issued a report studying the noise impact, and they did find that neighboring houses would be able to hear them from inside their homes. There are smaller units available. They claim to be super quiet. We can't really vouch for that, but because they're smaller, we would require about 4 times as many units. So we would be over probably 20 or so units required for this pool. This is a rendering, just so you can kind of get an understanding. This is a rendering of Carbondale's pool, and these 8 boxes or 6 boxes on top of the roof are those big bopper units. You can get an idea of their scale and kind of how much space they take up. And this is a photograph of the pool in Mountain View that is also installed electric heat pumps. These are the smaller type units, but you can see they have, I think, about 25 or so of them on their site as well. And the Menlo Park study also noted that they looked at the smaller units for less noise because they're considered quieter. But when you have to have so many of them, the noise levels were just as loud as the big boppers. There is also solar thermal heating, which we had explored even when we were looking at options for the North Pool. However, almost every single pool we know of in Colorado that used solar thermal heating has decommissioned their solar and reverted back to natural gas because these are incredibly complex systems. They require a lot of operations. They are very maintenance intensive, and it usually require like a dedicated staff person to stay on top of all the maintenance. And we often see that due to excessive heat buildup, especially in Colorado with our strong sun, they overheat and shut down. So again, it's not a system we are seeing have much success at all. So not a system that we would recommend. So just to summarize everything I just said, in terms of what we're recommending we move forward with, and our recommendation with the Parks and Rec staff is, of course, all of the building upgrades I mentioned, using the low embodied carbon concrete, requiring recycling of that concrete. We are recommending the high efficiency gas boiler for the pool heating, but electric hot water heater for your domestic water. And there is, of course, potential always to add additional PV solar on this site. It is not kind of within the scope of our project, but it is certainly something Superior could consider is, you know, when all the new equipment is in, trying to produce a little bit more or cover a little bit more of that load with additional PV. What we don't recommend for this pool would be the all electric or the solar thermal heating for the pool, as for all the reasons I've mentioned, the intensive maintenance, the high operating costs, but also unknown schedule impacts, because it all has been shared with us. It is a very high priority that these projects stay on schedule, and we have about a 9-month window for construction in the off season for these pools so that they can be open for the following swim season. So I hope that was helpful, and would love to kind of hear your thoughts and any feedback on this before we, approach the town council with this information.
And that was really thorough. That was a really good presentation. Thank you for doing that. I have a couple of questions. I can start, or ACES, do you guys want to start, or?
Go ahead.
What type of domestic hot water heater are you installing? You said it was electric. Is it going to be electric resistance, or is it going to be a heat pump water heater?
I believe it's electric resistance. I will confirm that, but I think that's what we're moving forward with.
Can you guys consider a heat pump water heater? Or I know the heat pump water heaters also, you can buy them with electric resistance backup. So then they can operate at a higher efficiency, as you guys obviously know.
Yeah.
And I would assume that's like a residential size system. It's not a massive.
Doesn't seem like me, right?
Right, it'd be like a large residential water heater, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Yeah, I guess what are your thoughts on that? Was that considered or bounced around when you guys were looking at that design?
I'll be honest, I have to check with that. Sorry, all my lights just went off in my office. There's sustainability for you. Um, I know that we just made the decision and our plumbing designer put in an electric hot water heater. So let me verify with him exactly what type it is.
I think Jim, I think our preference would be hot water, would be heat pump.
Yeah, our
Yep.
our preference would be a heat pump water heater, and maybe add this to your presentation to the town board that for some reason it's a hard no. That it was considered, and ACES maybe asked that question. Next question is the PV system is staying, that's great. Have you guys looked into how much electricity production you get off that PV system? How much of that can offset the electricity use of this facility? And is there any room to make it bigger to offset more of the electricity use of the facility?
Yeah, so I know the energy analysis attributed some savings to having that PV still operating. And we got the exactly what it is producing today from the Namaste Solar, the vendor. So we do have the reports. In terms of more capacity, there is certainly on the site since it is surrounded by open park, but not on the building itself. That's pretty much maxed out. Of course, there's always the parking lot and shade structures that can be utilized, but we're not exploring those options as a part of the scope for this project. I know for the North Pool, they are making some decisions about how to make the system there a little bit more efficient, and that Superior is dealing with Namaste directly.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't studied the roof, but you're saying the current roof is completely covered in solar panels, like that, the roof area is maxed out.
It looks pretty full.
I still get, it is full, okay, all right, so there's no, so in short, you can't expand the system, so you're getting what you're
You
getting.
could always ground mount, or you could add like a solar carport type thing.
Yeah. Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
carports, there's also, those panels have been there a while, so I know there was discussion too with Namaste of just putting up new panels that could be more efficient.
Well, it would also just be nice, I mean, I get why you have to do the gas boiler for the pool, and thanks for covering that detailed analysis, but it'd be nice though, since you have group 14 involved, to see what is the predicted annual electricity use of the facility, the new facility, and see what it would take to offset that electricity and added solar panels, whether it's carports, ground mount. Again, it may not float the financials, but I still think that would be an interesting data point to say that, hey, our current PV system is gonna offset as it operates 30% of use, but if we install a carport, we can offset 75 or 100% of use. And I think that was kind of the number missing in your presentation is just what is the production of that system and how much is it offsetting the use of the building right now?
Yeah, absolutely, because I know group 14 has that data, so I will ask them to kind of add it to the presentation so we can include it. And I'll ask them the question. It might be a little added scope, so I'll have a discussion with Jordan offline, but if they can also analyze what it would be to upsize the PV to cover more of the electrical load.
I think a back of the napkin would be fine. I mean, you could use PV watts or, one of the online PV calculators to quickly, assess how much more solar PV panels you would need. But yeah. And then, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, just saying, yep, we can do that.
And then, what's the plan in terms of a pool cover? And does your design include the ability to have a pool cover, and what's gonna be the education of the town staff and the lifeguards to put that pool cover on at night?
That's a great question, because I know with the pool covers at the North Pool and going into the shoulder seasons, we have potentially a thermal insulated cover going over that pool. This one not having to go into the cold at all. The cover will be new, but we're not going with the thermal one. They are more expensive and didn't feel like that was required on this pool. I don't know, Jordan, in terms of education for staff.
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about it with our aquatics coordinator who kind of runs the operations out there. So we can get back to you with an answer on that, to be more specific.
The area for
It's to save water and heating costs
Yeah.
is why you want the pool cover, but I guess that's good to know that there's a more insulated version of it, but can you look at the incremental payback of installing a more thermally insulated cover? Because again, I gotta imagine there's data out there, especially from the insulated pool, that, you know, pool cover vendor, about the savings of going with the more expensive cover, and then how much time that would pay back to go with that option.
Yeah, I think if it's already in the plans for the North Pool, like, I know they're totally
Yeah.
different shapes, but it would probably be worthwhile to see if a similar system could be put in the South Pool just for consistency and maintenance.
And again, this is just kind of a more of a local thing I've noticed, because I live by the South Pool, but you know, we can, as you guys notice too, living in Colorado, we can still have cool days in the summer that aren't particularly inviting for people wanting to go to the pool. And so a lot of times the boiler will keep on running, the pool will keep on heating, and it would be great, you know, on those days that, you know, if they shut the pool down because no one's coming, you can put a cover on it.
Right.
And
Lightning
save it.
storms that
Yeah.
evacuate early, that type of stuff. happens
Yeah.
sometimes a year.
And I know some of that's more on town staff and educating them and putting pool covers on, but yeah, I guess, and then my last question, and I'll shut up and let you guys ask questions. But when it comes to like the pool controls, the boiler controls, is it pretty much just a set point and the temperature is just maintained from Memorial Day to Labor Day? Or does it make sense to set back the temperature of the pool a few degrees at night, when the pool's not in use? If there is a day that the pool is closed because it's cold or lightning or thunderstorms in the area, is there a way that, I mean, again, town staff aren't gonna be there on the weekends likely, but is there a way, to set back the pool and reduce the heating energy use when it's not in use?
So in terms of automation of controls, I do know that there is, well, there's variability in the temperature. And so there were comments out of the community engagement phase that the water temperature is too cold at the South Pool. Now, we do know you have higher winds there. And so that definitely contributes to the feeling of it being colder there. Also separately, something we are also thinking of addressing just in terms of the amount of heat lost because of the wind there. But from an operations standpoint, maybe it's more discussions we need to have with staff in terms of adjusting the temperature in such a way to be more efficient. I don't know the answer if the controls are automated in any way to react to outdoor temperatures. I don't believe they are, but certainly something we can.
Yeah, I mean, it'd just be nice if there's not easier access to the controls where all the 15-year-old lifeguards can touch them. But basically, it doesn't require a phone call to town staff on their day off to come set back the pool.
Here's some of the virtual controls.
Yeah, or virtual controls or occupancy is not detected in the building, it's obviously closed, the boiler sets back or something like that.
I don't know.
Sure.
Doesn't require a key and an expert to go into the mechanical room to adjust the controls.
Sure.
But I think some sort of, I mean, modern controls exist, and I think there are good ways to do it. And again, you guys are the pool experts, so I'm not a pool controls guy, I'm a buildings guy, but yeah, it'd be nice if there's a way to optimize the heating set point of the pool, and it's not just a fixed temperature for 4 months of the year.
And I know there are definitely virtual operations where operator can do a lot from their phone in terms of the pool controls. So our aquatics designer would be able to tell me whether we can add that here or have, and so that'll be a follow-up.
Great, thank you.
All right, Jen covered most of my questions, mainly the pool cover, but is definitely not on scope, but this may be more of a question for you, Alexis, is it's an opportunity during a rebuild with, you know, a relatively new system. I'm assuming the load is actually not that high for a building of this size with all the openness of that building. Would be potentially capable of putting in some kind of storage system, and it could be like a residential size storage system, but treated both to offset some of the utility usage, but be more like that showcase model for residents to come over and see what a residential storage system might look like and the impacts it could have.
Like battery storage
Yeah.
for the solar.
Yeah.
And we haven't considered it yet, but I think it's something that we could definitely discuss. We've looked more at battery storage in terms of like a resilience,
Right.
like emergency operations
Seems like
perspective. Yeah, correct. And so that's, I think, where we've tended to look at prioritizing battery backup first. But I mean, certainly worth.
Yeah, if there's something in the works that's more, I mean, I was gonna say microgrid, but that blows the cost way out of the water. So
Right,
right. But I think Superior could use that. There's always questions coming up about, well, what do we do when our power runs out, or how can we get a backup? We get that all the time, so. Just having some sort of, as we talk about demonstration or community access to new technology for understanding and adopting new technology, it's an opportunity to put in something that's not break the bank cost, but can highlight kind of how it impacts the building.
I appreciate that.
I had a question about the high efficiency gas boiler for pool heating. So based on the cost, is that what you're recommending? As
It
opposed to
is.
the electric? Okay.
It is.
And is that the 97% efficient one?
It is.
Early in your presentation, you talked about the 97% efficient.
Yes,
Yeah.
this is the 97% efficient model.
And the current one was more like 60%?
Yeah,
Yeah.
50, 60, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
When was it put in? 1962?
So it's an improvement, even though we're not going.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be a good improvement. Okay, thanks.
Anything else, Lisa, John, got any questions? How about Michelle, you got any questions online?
Michelle, no questions. You're already checked out.
She's taking your agenda items.
She saw we're recycling.
Oh, 2 agenda items, you got 15 minutes.
Yeah, well, we got 3, so we got 5 minutes for each.
Yeah,
Cool.
all right, anything else?
No,
Jen?
thank you, that was great.
Okay, no, I thought your presentation was really thorough, so.
Yeah, it's really good.
I started writing down questions and you guys ended up answering them along the way, so, except a few that we asked, so, well, thank you for taking time out of your evening to present this to us, we appreciate that, so.
Yeah, absolutely, my pleasure. And thank you for the great questions. So we will follow up with those and try to incorporate as much as we can before this goes to the council. And if you think of anything else, just let Jordan know and she'll get it to me so we can think about it.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yes, thank you all.
You guys have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Take care. All right, see you guys. Any discussions around that or? It still blows my mind that for how long solar hot water heating has been around, there is still, we can put people on the moon, Starlink, the whole freaking bit, and we cannot control a solar hot water system. I mean, they've been around Southern California for a long time. Like, you see all the little black panels on the roof and you can be able to heat the pool and everything, like, it blows my mind. That, I mean, I understand their issues, but. Okay, so next thing on their list,
The grant, do you want me to talk about it?
yeah, it's you.
Alright, so I just wanted to really briefly talk with ACES about this grant that we're applying for, because I'm gonna ask for an ACES letter of support. So similar to the Dr. Cog grant that I talked about earlier, as you all know, I think, Colorado Energy Office also got an EPA climate pollution reduction grant. And they are giving out grants in terms of their impact accelerator. So we submitted a letter of intent, which was 13 pages long, so really underselling it with letter of intent. As part of, their second round, so we submitted in the fall and we were encouraged to apply for the full application. So we are submitting next week for an application on transportation demand management and looking at an ordinance for new development and redevelopment that would require some form of transportation demand management. And also very excitingly, we are applying for the ordinance piece, but also a project piece. So we are looking for quite a bit of funding, related to piloting out these approaches to transportation demand management. And looking at both incentives and behavior change, in some specific areas of Superior on kind of what this could look like specific to our community. How do you help people get out of cars? We know that it's really difficult to make that behavior change leap. But we're excited to apply, and I realized we haven't, I think I told you that this was coming, but I don't think I've ever formally presented it. So before I asked for a letter of support, I just wanted to have everyone be aware that's happening and see if there's any questions.
How much money are we talking?
So you had to submit a constrained budget, a standard budget, and a visionary budget. We were encouraged to apply with our standard and visionary, which is very exciting, because we're talking $900,000 to $1.3 million. So a significant.
I could build a chairlift from Rock Creek to downtown Superior.
Unfortunately, we are not allowed.
Mark's April Fool's Day joke.
Yeah, we're not allowed to build infrastructure.
Okay.
So it's gonna be incentives, behavior change, a lot of engagement, as you can imagine, and then the ordinance piece.
We got Michelle.
Okay, Michelle, question.
Real quick, so what kind of behavior change are you looking for? Like, what are you thinking about?
I mean, the behavior change is getting people out of single occupancy vehicles, and we're looking at it from both a residential and a commercial perspective. Ideally, we'd like to pilot it in it somewhere like downtown, where there's a lot of options. This will be after we have electric bike share, which is coming very soon through our camp grant. We have the electric car share downtown, we have buses. So all sorts of other modes other than just driving by yourself in your car. And then also trying to look at, we have a lot of employees. There's something like 2,000 something employees that commute into Marketplace. It's right on the 36th corridor with the buses. A lot of people drive, so trying to look at that audience as well. Knowing how much of our greenhouse gas inventory is made up of transportation emissions.
Can we purchase
Does any of
eco-passes
that-
for?
Does any of that, I'm sorry, does any of that cover, like when people go to Costco and they buy things, they can't haul it back when on their bike or on their bus? So that's a problem I hear. And then I also hear the flex ride doesn't come enough, especially on the weekends and other times. So those are the two complaints I hear from people why they're choosing to drive and not taking public transportation. Hauling their purchases, and then flex ride scheduling is not convenient.
So that's why we were excited to look at behavior change, because we want to do a lot of that message testing, focus groups, and all of the other things to understand what the real opportunities are, as well as those barriers, and how we might design incentives or support programs to kind of address them. So Jim, to your point, that could look like eco passes potentially. I mean, RTD is sometimes challenging, but it could at least look like bus passes. Flex ride we know is really constrained. Potentially there's opportunity there. Potentially ride share, subsidy. Like, I think the world is kind of our oyster with this. We're writing it in such a way that we really want to make sure that we're listening to what the challenges are and trying to design alternatives, with the exception of with federal funds, we are not allowed to do infrastructure related things. So we can't build more bike share stations. Luckily, we'll already have those in place. We can't build a gondola anywhere here, chairlift. Unfortunately, with the EPA funds, that's a constraint, yeah. But, really trying to look at it from the big picture lens of what really works here, so that we can have an ordinance that would be successful, and we can recommend kind of those pieces to new developments as well. Because this is just a really challenging behavior to tackle.
Yeah.
Does
Thank you.
single occupancy vehicle include electric vehicles?
I mean, for the purposes of this, yes. Well, I don't know. I guess we could explore that.
I think by definition, it is a single occupancy vehicle. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's not an emissions directed car reduction.
I implemented a travel reduction program in Maricopa County, but in Maricopa County, EVs are not SOBs. Like, that's a specifically defined thing.
Right.
So moving people into EVs is reducing SOBs.
Well, that's something we can consider as part of this as well. I haven't considered that specifically, but again, we're trying to keep it open-ended, and we'll have a lot of opportunity if we get this to design what those
pieces could look like that we want to incentivize and drive people towards.
Connector services like shuttles would be considered infrastructure though, right?
We couldn't we couldn't like purchase a van, I don't think.
No, but like
We could,
hiring like a shuttle to connect Bell Flatirons to the marketplace. Or something like that, like short run type town, like one side of the other town in a loop type thing.
I think we could do something with
Now our
that.
version of the hop.
Yeah.
Well, that's, yeah, when I was in Oakland, they had the Emeryville go round, and that's all.
Is it a shed?
Control
Is it?
bus that goes around the town.
You're thinking about the things that you get drunk on bachelor parties and use the.
The ones
So one of the hardest or easiest things to reduce single-use vehicles that we use is the bus to the airport. Because that's a long trip and plus you pay for parking.
Yeah.
So we use the bus all the time, but the challenge is getting with your luggage to the bus stop.
Yes, that last mile connection for everyone, connecting these pieces,
You got
so,
a pack last, Lisa.
Backpack.
Exciting.
Backpack.
I just need,
Yeah.
I don't know if I need a formal motion of support, but, if you wanna make a motion, you can, just that you can sign a letter saying ACES
I think we all
supports this.
Yeah, does everybody support this?
All in favor?
I move.
I second.
Yes.
All.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, great.
Done. Okay, thank you.
On to Michelle.
Okay.
5 minutes each, go Michelle.
You got 8 minutes, Michelle. ACES
Oh.
litter kit action plan. Well, no, actually 4 minutes for this, 4 minutes for the next.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
Michelle sent something that I haven't looked at, but I'm gonna share. Michelle, you
Dangerous.
want me to share this?
Yes, please. All right. Hold on. Lisa
So we're
kindly
looking
has
at-
taken, this is the action plan, suggested action plan I emailed you to take the litter kit that ACES has purchased, that I have stored, and luckily Lisa had kindly accepted my request to store it. So Lisa now has it in her garage. and
That's ACES.
it's ACES litter kit that has 10 litter pickers, and safety vests and disposable gloves, in order to, and 1 5-gallon bucket and 1 big Rubbermaid container, with the purpose of loaning it out for the Superior Community Center to loan it out to residents and businesses through their existing Civic Rec software. A long time ago, when we approved this and purchased it, Karen Startland was the Parks and Rec employee at the community center. She was willing to take this and put it in. Then she had left the town, and then Tim Barrett took over eventually, and now they are redoing obviously the front desk, and they don't have much space behind the existing desk to store the litter kit. Once they get the construction done, he's willing to take this litter kit in, enact our vision that we had, that this would be a community resource for people to borrow and collect litter. So how do we get this implemented? And this is the action plan I'd like to present to you with your input, and you can email me back the input as to what we want to do for those steps for that. So if you see the current one, the first step is to confirm with Tim that he's willing to take this and get this in writing. Right now, we don't have it in writing. So I'd like to get it in writing. And then I'd also like to ask you ACES members who would like to be the champion to take over this project, as next March meeting will be my last ACES meeting, as I will relocate to Atlanta, Georgia. So that's step one. Step two, we have one. I want to produce a little video that has 6 things on how to take care of the kit, how to pick up litter safely. So that's a quick, easy one that we would shoot ourselves. Step 3 would be to produce a video and then have Tim create the Civic Rec sign up. Step 5 would be to ask CAPS to decorate it, to involve more community members in the ownership of this and the value of this, one of the ideas was to ask CAPS to decorate the outside. And so independently, I asked one of the CAPS leaders, Drew, about this. He said, yeah, we could do a community event where people could color in a design that somebody had created with marker on it, and then people can color it in at an event. And then would need to create a communications campaign to introduce the kit, and then host a kickoff litter and waste audit event and publish the results in some upcoming communications so people understand what its potential is. So I wanted your input on this project plan, and most importantly, I would like, if there's a volunteer, one of you who would like to take over and champion this project plan.
So you're saying that no video anywhere exists on, I mean, any type of video, I mean, you work in the eco-cycle, you know the industry, so like no one has ever created a kit, a video on how to use this kit?
No, but it's not hard to create. I have a beginning script, and it's not hard. I mean, I created, with Alexis, we created how to do litter pickup at a community event like Michaela was describing, and we used it to train Green Team volunteers. So it's not hard to produce that quick video.
This is just a custom kit that ACES / Michelle made, so that's why it's not like a ready-made thing that has instructions.
So would someone like Pari appreciate this kit? If she's
I asked
in charge of
Pari,
space
right, that's a
and-
great idea. And I asked Pari, but she has her own kit. She has her own collection of Town of Superior vests that we use, her own litter picker-uppers. She's got these big, huge bags. I'll send you the pictures that zip like big poly bags that she collects the litter in, and we weigh them. We use one of those travel scales that you weigh luggage with, and you hook them up and you weigh it. So she's already equipped, and so she doesn't need our kit. Our kit is primarily for community members. And particularly, we were thinking of high school students that need community service hours, that they could sign one out and maybe clean up their neighborhood. Think about the day after Halloween. There's a lot of candy wrappers out there. Think about the day after, snow melts in the springtime for Earth Month. So this is just to empower community members and businesses to have the materials to conduct a litter pickup safely and visibly.
Okay. Well, I don't know, is anyone interested in volunteering, or you think about this? Make a decision by the next meeting? I guess I'm just trying to think, so the litter kit with Lisa right now, and so does it, the alternate home?
I was just gonna have it until the community center was done, so then we put it back in the community center, right?
Well, the issue is
Exactly.
that the pieces are not complete to hand this off to the community center yet. There's no instructions of what's in there for the GSAs. There's no instructions on how to use it. So that's what Michelle is asking for help designing, because it's gonna be a little bit of a process. Not a huge process, but a little bit of a process to like integrate this into something that can be kept here and given out.
I have those pieces designed. I just need someone to shepherd them.
Yeah, I think collectively ACES can take this on, of course, this is a part of our mission. But the ultimate home of the storage of this thing is gonna be in the Superior Community Center.
That's the goal, and we've
That's the goal.
mentioned it to Tim post Karen, but that's the
I guess
goal.
I don't know who Tim is,
Tim manages this facility in the civic space as well, so
Is Karen-
he's kind of the decider. Karen's not around anymore.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's been a while. It's been a while, honestly, like
Oh.
big story.
Well, I haven't heard her name in a while, so I didn't.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the goal is to be able to keep this here. The difference between Pari's kit and this kit is this kit would be something that people can check out. So that when people wanna get community service hours, they wanna do this, that, and the other, they can come do it themselves and no one has to do that for them.
Has anyone ever checked it out?
Well, it hasn't been able, like.
It's not here.
It's not,
Was
wasn't
it
there
at
yet.
was it always at your house then, Michelle?
Yes,
Was
we've
that
never
right?
had We've never had anybody at the community
Because
center.
this has been around for like a year
Shepherded.
or two.
Right, because when Karen left, nobody was there to take it, and then they didn't want it because they had no space behind the front desk. And then there was talk about redoing the front desk, so then the GSAs had room to store things. And they said, once we get to that milestone, we will take it then. So I've been storing it since then, hoping for this milestone to come, and it's finally coming this summer.
So then, how are we gonna let people in the town know this kit exists and it can be checked out and used? Like,
I can help with that part, but because this is kind of an ACES funded project and starter project, there's just some steps to finish. So it hasn't just been a storage issue. So once it exists and it's able to be checked out, I'm happy to help promote it and talk with town comms about how to, and you know, the events team and Jamie, our new volunteer coordinator. I think there's ways we can promote this. But I think what we're missing is the couple steps in between to actually take this from just a tub of pickers to something that someone would know what to do with, that has a list of what's in the tub. You know, there's just a couple of steps still.
All right, I think we're all feeling like we're pretty overwhelmed with other things outside here right now, and like nobody wants to take this on. I'm just gonna say what everybody's feeling right now. So I think the way to do this is to break it up into pieces, and each of us take a piece of this to work on this together. Like we don't need to do everybody doing every step, but like shooting a video right now is gonna take hours that like I'm finding hard to find an hour right now. So like some of these pieces are not quick, and I appreciate all the work you put into, Michelle. But I think we need to kind of think about what we have capacity to do and then hand it off to somebody else, so that each of us kind of takes a piece of this. So if we're gonna go.
Have an instructions sheet instead of a video. I mean, a video is huge.
Yeah, that would be.
The video's not that hard. If I can get you guys to read a script, could I videotape you? I have the script. I have the contents. It's
Sure. I'll make the time to do that with you, Michelle.
If I can get you each for like a half hour, you read a script and do a certain section of it. The biggest concern I have, one is people's safety. Make sure they put on the safety vest. Don't do pick up without a safety vest. And I will show a picture of somebody without a safety vest and somebody with one, and see how non-visible you are without a safety vest. And then the other thing is the pickers are not to be used as hiking poles. People tend to use them. They tend to go down into ravines like stormwater drains and pick up, and then they use the picker as a hiking pole to get back out, and that's when they snap. And then finally, they need to clean them with soap and water and make sure that all the sticky trash is out there, and how to dispose of the trash and do a waste audit. So I really need time with each of you or your kids to be part of the video that I could shoot. It's not that hard to make the video.
Okay.
I can do an inventory of the kit since it's in my garage.
I already have that inventory.
You do?
All right, well, this.
Can you send it to me?
I'll send you all what I have.
Okay.
I'll send it to us.
All right, yeah, I think in short, Michelle, we'll make it happen. We just gotta work together here.
Great.
And I think just trying to understand your vision would be helpful. I think that's the missing piece right here, because I just heard 3 steps. I heard bottom vest, don't use the pole as a hiking stick, and make sure you dispose of trash. I don't know. And that's the thing, I'm leaving this open-ended, but I'm trying to understand what we need to do to show that. So, but again, you're an expert on this, so maybe I'm missing many interim steps in there. So, and I'm always a fan of KISS, so, if we can, put our heads together, put something together, I think that'd be great.
Yeah, it's not that hard. I just need someone to shepherd it, so.
Yeah, no, I think we're not gonna let this one go by the wayside with your departure, so it will happen, I'm not too worried about that. I mean, I'll jump in and take it over if
Yeah.
everybody's running long time, so. And I guess the last thing was just the ACES Zero Waste Carnival and Eco Leader report,
Yeah, so I apologize. I realized I did not get any feedback from you. Then I realized I didn't send the email. It was in my draft folder. So I just sent it about 10 minutes ago. So check your emails. I asked for your feedback. So Jim, we had a great event. We did have some things that need to be repaired. So in the email, I include John's feedback that he gave me via text. I copied and pasted so everybody can see about the pinball machine. It needs a little repair work, and so does our spinning wheel. But what I'd like to ask you, if you could just reply to the email as to what you thought of the event. Luckily, we had an audience because there was a babysitting course going on, and teens were attending that simultaneously at the community center. And their instructor, who also lives in Superior, she let them have a break and come sample our games. And then Alexis had her daughter, and Alexis's role was to be a parent and witness and observe how her child interacted with the game. So as we do these in the future, what do we need to change? And then we had the 40-minute eco leader training with Lex Shannon and Miss Peel. And how did that work with with kindergartners to second graders and then older kids? So if you can just send me your feedback, and then I'll compile it and send it back out. So we have this evidence data for the next time you run it. I think the carnival game was a great idea. I think it should be run again. But there are your feedback is really important, and we need to fix some of the items.
Yeah, no, I'm reading your list right now, thanks for putting this together. So.
You did an amazing job as a spiel.
No, thank you.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was fun. But I do think there's a lot of value to repeating it.
It was.
Yeah.
The pinball was a huge hit.
Where is the pinball machine?
It is in my office,
Oh, is it?
storage, but it was mentioned in some TLC.
Yeah,
I don't know, it's good, it's the first time it's been put to the test, so yeah, as long as no major components were broken, it's just reinforcing.
Yeah, there's gonna be some troubleshooting on the LED lights, the sensors. Right now, they're all firing all the time.
Oh, interesting. Alright,
So if any engineers.
You mechanical
on
engineers
that.
can handle.
yeah, I don't know, well, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
Alright, do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Okay, first, John, second.
Second.
Alright, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks for having on, Michelle.
Bye.
Thanks, Michelle.
All right. See you guys later. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.